All right, we got ourselves a disaster of a show. I know you listened yesterday and nothing's changed. We started a conversation about the difference between pantheism and panentheism. Pantheism and panentheism. What's the difference? A little bit, sort of, but not much. Pantheism is all is God. God is everything. Panentheism is God is in everything. You hear the word "en" is in. Panentheism, God is in all things. Pantheism, all is God. You hear Oprah Winfrey? She's either a pantheist or a panentheist. Oprah is. Our beloved Oprah. Same thing. You got a little God in you, and now what you got to do is just polish it up. So the only difference between pantheism and panentheism is how God is in everything. That's the only distinction. In panentheism, your outer personality, that's not God. But but God is still your true identity. So it's not the outside stuff. He's in you somehow. It's just hidden. So you've got God's presence in you. You're a little God. Hey, does that remind you of anything by any chance? Does that sound familiar at all?
When you say I'm a Christian, you're saying I am Mashiach in the Hebrew. I'm a little Messiah walking on earth, in other words.
Yeah, see, Benny Hinn, pantheist / panentheist. He's a little God. That's not correct. That's not right at all.
God came from heaven, became a man, made man into little gods.
Okay, that's not right. There's only one true God. There's only one true God, and his identity is not in everyone. Got a little Bible verse for that. It's Colossians 2, 9 and 10. God is in bodily form, rests in Jesus Christ, and him only. For in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in him, who is the head of all principality and power. Okay? Christians, this is so important. And I'm so grateful for this. These people like Benny Hinn, these people like Ken Copeland, that talk about that we are little gods, like you just heard Benny say. And Ken Copeland says the same thing. And yet in fact, I just heard Ken the other night saying, some of my critics will say that I think I'm God. No, I know I'm not God. And yet at the same time, he says things like, well, I am a little God. So I'm not the big God, but I'm a little God. I got a little God chunk in me. And it's been my opinion that in the past, the problem that these poor fellows have always had in their theology is that they have a confusion about being made in the likeness and the image of God. They think that they were made to be little gods, when in fact we're just made in the image. We personify some of his characteristics and his attributes. We're relational. We communicate. We are loving, etc. So we have some of his attributes now, of course, in a fallen state, but nonetheless, we are made in his image, but we are not a little him. So this was the Bible. Finally, I found this Bible verse, and it's like, there's the difference. Here's the difference. We are not little gods. We are not little messiahs.
When you say I'm a Christian, you're saying I am Mashiach in the Hebrew. I'm a little Messiah.
No, you're not a little Messiah walking the earth. Here's what you are, Benny. You're a partaker. You're not God yourself, or you got a little God chunk in you, like a panentheist. You're a partaker. Let me share with you. 2 Peter 1, 3 through 4, which makes this clear. You are not possessors of the divine nature. You're a partaker. If this is sounding irrelevant to you, I would like to challenge you right now to try to use whatever sort of memory device you need, because you will run into this someday, and this will help you make the distinction between somebody like a Ken Copeland and a Benny Hinn, who teaches that you are, or a Wayne Dyer for that matter, or a Deepak Chopra, or a Joel Osteen, any of these fellows. You are not a possessor of the divine nature. You're a partaker. Possessor versus partaker. Possessor versus partaker. All right, here's 2 Peter. His divine power has given to us all things that pertain to life and godliness through the knowledge of him who called us by glory and virtue, by which have been given to us exceedingly great and precious promises, that through these you may be partakers of the divine nature. Having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. There it is. That defeats all of this nonsense.
God came from heaven, became a man, made man into little gods.
No, he did not. He made men men. He did not make men little gods. He did not make men possessors of God's divine nature. He allows us, however, to partake of his divine nature without becoming gods ourselves. Once again, if this is sounding kind of like, oh, brother, what are you talking about today? You will run into this. And I would like to encourage you, pardon me for talking kind of Algorian and pedant. Now, you need to learn this, but if you are out there listening to anybody preach who could potentially shady, this type of stuff creeps its way in. You are not a possessor of the divine nature, but you're but a partaker. God did not make you a little god. God made you man, and he allows you to partake, but not possess, of his nature. The Greek word for partaker, koinonos, which means a sharer, an associate, companion, or fellowship partner. In other words, you share in the promises of the work, the purifying work of the Holy Spirit. Moreover, a partaker, a sharer, a participant is one who has been invited and makes a decision to become involved. In other words, to get born again. A possessor is one who is already in possession of something. And so for the panentheists like Benny Hinn, or a Ken Copeland, or a Deepak Chopra, or a Wayne Dyer, or for a pantheist, whichever they happen to be, the possession they are claiming is God.
When you say, I'm a Christian, you're saying, I am Mashiach in the Hebrew. I'm a little Messiah walking on earth, in other words.
Okay, so here's the deal, and this is why you don't hear Benny and Ken and all these false teachers talking about transformation. You see, you got God in you. You just need to be aware of it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to be transformed. You don't need to be changed. You just need to be aware.
God came from heaven, became a man, made man into little gods, went back to heaven as a man. He faces the Father as a man. I face devils as the Son of God.
He thinks he's God, or a possessor of a God nature. You are not. You're a partaker. Possessor versus partaker. Isaiah 42:8. I am the Lord, that is my name, and I will give my glory to no other.
God came from heaven, became a man, made man into little gods.
Sorry, he didn't. You can just be a partaker, Benny. I fear you're not. You can just be a partaker. You are not a possessor. With that little lecture over, I'd like to share something with you. As you, I'm sure, are aware, it is Holy Week. This is the week. Hold on, I got to stretch for my paper here. This is the week where Jesus entered into Jerusalem. By the way, magnificent sermon on Sunday. Magnificent sermon. Oh, so fine. Preacher was talking about Simon Maccabeus. Simon Maccabeus was from 1st and 2nd Maccabees of the Pentateuch, those books that the Protestants do not believe should be in the biblical canon that were added by the Catholic Church in, what was it, like 1400 something? Or was it in response to the Reformation?
1500
yeah,
something.
1500. It was in response to the Reformation, so it had to be 15 something.
Trent.
The Council of Trent, is that it? All right, thank you. What, have you been studying this or something? What's up with you? All over that.
Years, eh?
Atta boy. So the 1st and 2nd Maccabees talk about this rebellion that the Jews rebelled against, I believe it was Antiochus. Was it Antiochus IV, who had from Syria came in, took over Israel, and it's just completely trashed the temple, set it up for worship of himself. Simon Maccabeus, he was able to come in and take it over, and for a while the state of Israel the nation of Israel was an autonomous state, not living underneath the authority of anybody else for a short time. So Simon Maccabeus came into Israel, into Jerusalem, when, what time do you think? Riding on a donkey down from the Mount of Olives into the city of Israel where he cleansed the temple. Sound familiar, doesn't it? Now, is it a coincidence? Did Jesus, Deepak Chopra, harness the power of coincidence? Doubt it. I'm thinking there was a little symbolism and nobody missed the point, because on Monday, after Jesus came in on a donkey, riding meekly and lowly into the city of Jerusalem, he cleansed the temple. Cleaned the place out, because there were money changers in the temple. And then we know that on Tuesday, Jesus confronted the religious leaders. Let's take a real quick